You're now listening to the Something Good Podcast Network. Please press any key to continue.
You remember that story a long time ago? The kid getting stuck in the balloon.
Yes,
It was all fake.
it was all fake.
I was just like, I hope there's like 12 kids at that fucking balloon. I hope it fucking is.
All right, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Couch Potatoes. I'm Alex.
No cap.
No cap. But we got Morrison.
Yep.
That's
all
right.
you need. You don't need cap.
Yeah, well, fucking. Sooner or later, it'll be just Cap as the special guest because the show is titled "The Couch Potatoes with Chris Morrison." Mm-hmm. So technically, as long as Chris Morrison is part of the show, it's an episode of the Couch Potatoes. So eventually, Cap just may be special guest.
Yeah.
Huh.
We might be branded so you getting shirts.
Yeah, right. You never know what's
Coffee
going to be
mugs.
happening. Coffee mugs, shirts, maybe
Lighters.
a sticker or two,
Yeah. Whatever.
patch,
A special
tattoo.
Pack. Yeah. Fuck it. Special pack of menthol cigarettes.
Yeah.
Limited edition menthol cigarettes because God forbid anybody have a good flavored cigarette.
No, God, I'm glad I'm doing the other thing that's just going to kill me a little bit slower, which is just vaping. So
Yay, smoking candy.
Yay. Well, no, it's still mint. I don't do any of the special flavors. And
Oh
still
my God.
menthol.
I have people at work do that shit. I'm just like, just eat candy. You fuck.
And I'm sure mine is also a lot more low profile than what some of y'all's are.
Yeah.
Your coworkers. Yeah. No, because I say this turned into a something good episode, but we'll talk about that at some point. But by the time this episode is out, we probably would have already talked on it on that. But at the new job I'm about to get, guy was like, "Yeah, I'm very pro vaping." He's like, just try not to be too crazy with it. And as soon as I pulled mine out, he goes, "Oh, you couldn't do nothing with that anyway. You're fine. Yeah, vape away." Anyway, we were just kind of dicking off, just kind of discussing different things, and we were kind of going through making funny jokes about different Pixar movies, and we're like, hey, we actually have not done a Pixar episode, but we've discussed many times before how Pixar movies are not really just for kids. We watched kind of a video essay right before this by a YouTuber named Captain Kristen. Definitely check him out. He's made a couple really good videos, but through that, he made a really good point, which was a lot of people confuse the term family movie with child-friendly movie. Mm. But Pixar really does take it in a direction where basically anyone of any ethnic group, age, gender can enjoy the movie and pull something away from it. And I think that's why, you even still get adults like us, that area just like, did you see the new Pixar movie? It's fucked up, man.
Well, it's like Cops. It's like the show Cops.
Yeah.
Everyone can watch it.
Please, Chris, draw the line between Pixar movies and Cops for me.
Everyone can enjoy watching Cops.
Except people that don't like policemen.
You still watch it because you're like, damn, that motherfucker got away. Fuck yeah. Like, it's still entertainment.
Okay,
all
right. Sorry, I was taking a drink. I wasn't just leaving you there. All right, I see it a little bit. But, no, it's pretty interesting. Pixar started out in 1979 as part of a Lucasfilm division. Mm-hmm. And so that really, I think just that alone shows where this company was going to be going. Mm-hmm. Because the Lucasfilm division, if people aren't big-time movie nerds, may not realize, or big-time Star Wars nerds may not realize that a lot of the special effects that it's hard to find them now because they've been redone, but a lot of the original special effects that were in that movie had never been done before. They had to create specific rigging materials and ways to blow things up and ways to green screen things in that had never been done before. So they had to create their own production house just to be able to create these special effects because no one around could do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So for the fact that this was a computer division known as Graphics Group, that was an offshoot of Lucasfilm, already shows that these kids have a drive to create really good computer-generated images.
And this is Ron coincided with Industrial Light and Magic, right?
Yes, correct. ILM. And then it winds up spouting off in its own corporation in 86 with funding from Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So it is really interesting how Pixar is kind of the baby of George Lucas and Steve Jobs in an odd way. That is in no way to discredit the designers and engineers that actually put the, models and all the original programming together. But funding wise, its daddies were George Lucas and Steve Jobs. Mm-hmm. That I don't know. I've always found that kind of fact very fascinating in the story of Pixar.
It's the story of a lot of, when you take the creator and put them with not so much another creator, but an investor, the two people that make something great. We had talked about it before the show that Steve Jobs wasn't really an inventor. He was a convenience man. He was an industrialist. He was more of an Thomas Edison type person. Mm-hmm. George Lucas, though, would be the creative in that situation. And, because of him, there was Lucasfilms, Industrial Light and Magic. Steven Spielberg used him on some films, and he used, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And if you take someone like George Lucas, who also consolidated ideas to create his own, but he did it to the peak limits of the ability of what was available.
Right.
And I think, with Pixar, if you look at those first films, like Toy Story, mm-hmm. the animation holds up pretty well.
Oh, absolutely.
It's textured. It's not as textured as like video games are, because they kind of, I will say the scary thing about video games is it's hitting that uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary looking because it fucks with your brain a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want Pixar to do that.
Exactly. And I think they found a really good way throughout the years to bring a lot of realism, but not uncanny valley to their animation.
Because it's still the detail, like if you want to go more detail oriented to what Pixar was capable of, it's Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Finding Nemo, the original cut of Finding Nemo is too realistic that they had to dumb it down. The water looked too real. Mm-hmm. So they cut it down.
Yeah.
Which tells you a lot about what they were capable of in the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. And it also tells a lot about their understanding of what's going to make a compelling and good movie. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to be like, oh, we're just going to show off, all this amazing, great technology we have. They're going to work within their limits to create something that's going to be enjoyable. And something else I actually didn't know, let's see. It says here on the Wikipedia page that they actually that the Pixar team did some of the effects in Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a scene. It's where Khan shows up with his starship, mm-hmm. And there's a lot of detail where it's not. It's one of the first uses of CG,
right?
Next to like lasers and. The beam me up Scotty kind of stuff. There is a little bit more detail in Wrath of Khan than there was in Star Trek the Motion Picture. Mm-hmm. Granted, it's another sad movie, technically, because Spock gets it. But, yeah, them and there are other, production companies on the level of Pixar that went above and beyond just to show that we can tell an animated story mm-hmm. as well as a real live action film.
Yeah.
And they do it really well. I think what helped it, though, was the fact that Pixar was able to get some well-known voices to kind of carry that, because that's another thing about animated.
I think what helped with that is the very last piece of this 3-part puzzle was, after the Steve Jobs funding, essentially they were able to improve their technology. They worked on a lot of other films kind of in the background and started creating tech demos to show off at CES and things like that, and being like, hey, this is where the future can go, invest in us, or hire us for your projects so we can continue to grow. And then, sure enough, the mouse comes a knocking.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh shit, it's the final piece of the puzzle. So with the Disney backing for even a first movie like Toy Story, I mean, that's an all-star cast right there.
Well, Disney at that time was in a slump.
Big time
slump. They were getting their asses kicked by iWorks and all these other stuff. At that time,
And even really poor business deals between the parks, the other movies. That was like bad deals left and right. Disney almost went bankrupt around this time.
And it was a smart move, to assimilate Pixar in. And not just that, but they opened themselves up to telling the same stories, or instead of these fairy tale stories or fables and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And changing up the whole thing to, hey, let's make something a little bit more modern than, let's say, Cinderella and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it went a long way, because Pixar and DreamWorks were a little bit relative at the same time. DreamWorks didn't quite go the CG route as fast.
Yeah.
They did CG animation, which goes a long way for other animators today, such as Seth MacFarlane, Matt Groening, because a lot of that is not drawn anymore. It's all computer generated.
Oh yeah, and even after the first episode of South Park, that's all been computer generated.
Yeah. So they kind of have to. But that's another independent studios, that do it. South Park Studios is all digital now.
Yep.
It's no longer cut and paste. Click, cut and paste, click. But going to DreamWorks, like one of the greatest animated movies probably ever made by them was Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is hand drawn, but it's also computer generated. Mm-hmm. And when that movie came out, it was kind of the nail in the head, or nail in the coffin on just straight animated movies.
Yep.
You're using.
I remember the Prince of Persia. That was around the time period when I was, remembering seeing ads for, different movies and things. And yeah, that. For some reason, though, that never really crossed my mind as something I wanted to see, though. So I think it even came out at the wrong era.
It's not more of, if you wanted to see it, it was more of like a James Cameron film, where it's not targeted to a certain person or targeted to a more large demographic, like Titanic or Avatar, where it's just like, I just want to do something I want to do. Fine, I'll make your movie, but you know what I'm doing? I'm killing a guy with a giant CG propeller because I'm fucking metal. I want to go deep in the ocean. Why? Because I told him about to film a movie, but I kind of want to build a cool submarine. Or like, hey, I want to take the effects of 3D imagining and go beyond anyone's ever done it, and to where you don't need special glasses. It's some paper glasses, and you go to the theater now and something's in 3D. Guess what? That shit is fucking insane to watch.
Yeah, it really is.
Because he decided to push that fucking boundary, and Steve Jobs, with Apple, he was pushing people a little bit harder. Kind of like a psycho, but that is the crazy thing. It's like, if we want to get onto that small tangent, I remember the major thing is because he quit Apple for a while. He left Apple for a good while, and then he came back, basically fired everyone, reconstructed the business, and really cut down on the amount of products they were selling, because they were oversaturating the market with a lot of really, really, really bad products. So he cut down on everything and was like, we're going to focus on one computer and this X1 and the other. And the one thing he did is like, no floppy disk drive. Yeah.
And they're like, what? No, that's like our main mode of like saving data and like transporting it between computers. He's like, get rid of the floppy disk. He's like, it's about to be gone. He's like, this is outdated technology already.
Tape.
Yeah, he's like, this is outdated already. He goes, and consumers are relying on them too hard. Get rid of it. There are better alternatives.
Yeah.
And then sure as shit, within a few years, boom, floppy disks were gone. And then same thing happened with Java. He stopped accepting Java on Macs, which kind of forced the industry to move past Java. Now we have much better websites because we don't rely on JavaScript anymore. It's now on different web-based OSs. So it is kind of an interesting thing where it's like, I don't know, sometimes folks do have to get mad at someone to get pushed forward.
It's a lot of reconsolidating a standard.
Yeah.
Which can be revolutionary, such as like Xerox creating Windows by accident, and Bill Gates seeing the potential for that before they even saw it.
Yep. And the thing is Bill was, I don't know which was smarter, Bill or Steve.
Oh no, they're both at the same.
But because they went about it two completely different ways and it both succeeded. So they both proved themselves right. Because because when Steve and we are going on a way tangent, but this is all still era specific of the early 90s. When they were working together at Microsoft, Steve wanted to make sure it was a locked code. Like the Mac OS is. He wanted to make sure it was exclusive. He's like, we've got something really great here with Windows. And on the other hand, his name just escaped me, even though I said it like 5 times.
Bill Gates.
Yes, Bill was like, no, I want to license this. I want this on like every computer possible. If you make a computer, I want to license it to it. And Steve just did not agree with that. That was their only main fundamental difference, is Steve did not want it to be given away so freely.
I heard an analogy described as one's a heroin dealer, one's a coke dealer. Mm-hmm. Steve Jobs is a heroin dealer. It's a very niche thing.
Yeah.
You know what you're looking for. You know exactly what you need. Bill Gates is, I need the masses to get on my shit.
Yeah.
So coke is a little bit more socially acceptable than heroin, but it's they're both peddling something that you're going to want and then eventually continuously need. Steve Jobs,
like Disney.
Like Steve Jobs, you know, with a Mac, you got a Mac computer 2 years from now, you just got to update it. That's all you got to do. Guess what? Bill Gates does the same fucking thing. Mm-hmm. The only thing about Bill Gates is the Microsoft computers have a little bit more open sourcing on it. Yep. And if you know enough shit about Mac, you can do the same goddamn thing. Mm-hmm. But they are niche products. If I'm trying to run an office, I'm using Microsoft. If I'm running a brand company that's more visual and audio, that's making TikToks, commercials, stupid shit like that, yeah, I'm going to use a fucking Mac because that's what it's designed for. It's more of creative than anything.
Yeah, if I wanted to have something I could put on my lap and do some mega gaming on, I'm not going to grab a Mac. That is not their market. Gaming is not forward facing with Steve Jobs and his initial thing, and they've carried that forward.
And that's, you know, that goes with DreamWorks too. DreamWorks has a very open kind of relationship with people who use Microsoft.
But then as soon as Disney grabbed Pixar, it was very much, you're going to work with us and us only. We are your production house and you are our people.
Yeah, Disney, and that's what caused them to die in the 80s, is because they pushed all those people out who were like, hey, I have an idea. And they're like, no, fuck your idea. Yeah. And then they took it down the fucking street to UBI-Works and all them, and they started kicking out kick-ass fucking movies, and Disney's like, well, what happened? Well, I thought
our movies by committee worked.
Unfreeze Walt real quick and let's ask him.
And he's like, go with the new kids.
Yeah, go with the new kids. But straight
out the gate with a hit with Toy Story.
Yeah.
And I will say though, that one was one I was late to the game on. That was not my first movie for Pixar. I remember when it came out. I remember all the marketing material, all that stuff.
I went from, all right, so when Pixar had come around, you know, they were still doing they had opened the Disney Vault again around that time.
Oh, God. Do we want to talk about that for a second? I remember those commercials.
The Disney Vault is a copyright massacre.
Oh, my God.
Because they do it with Fox now.
Yes.
So when they accumulate stuff, Disney decides to stop production, reproduction of these items. So if you want a VHS copy of Bambi, you have to wait.
You only have like a 2-month window to buy it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's called vertical integration. It's, you create scarcity and you create a need, because now people are like, well, they treated it like Beanie Babies. They're like, I could sell this one day. No.
Well, they started to. That was the thing. Like that's the one thing
the formatting finally just put a nail in the coffin, because I don't have a VHS player. How the fuck am I going to watch this?
Well, honestly, the collectability side, because there were so few made, like people were actually able to find like the run numbers of how many of each thing was made. Certain sealed copies of Lion King, not even for like Disney fans, but for like actual collectors that like just dropping money and shit. A sealed copy of Lion King can go for like $2,000. Yeah, it's insane.
To me, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I know, but like if you were talking about collectability, what would you have? Which one would you rather have? A VHS copy of fucking Lion King or an orange Nickelodeon tape? Something you watch.
Exactly right. Yeah. So, I would much. You know, even
it's a false economy. It's not real.
It is. It's all fake.
But I would love to have a VHS copy of Toy Story.
Well, I would love to have. I think I still have it in the closet in there. But my first Pixar movie, which was their follow-up, A Bug's Life.
Yes,
that was my first Pixar movie.
And this is when I was a kid, I started noticing duplicates.
Copy paste characters.
Not really copy paste characters. Is when I noticed movie duplicates. So we had a spy movie, or Lara Croft Tomb Raider had got back into the new genre of gaming, the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4.
Right. Well, this was PS2 era. This was 98.
This is an example.
Okay.
So Lara Croft came back with a Tomb Raider. PlayStation's like, it's kind of old. They create Uncharted. Same goddamn thing with a dude.
Okay.
Guess what movie came out at the exact same time as Bug's Life?
What?
Antz.
Yep.
DreamWorks.
Yep.
It's fucking DreamWorks.
Oh, well, it happens again in a few years, too.
Yeah. But it's all right. So Bug's Life is anarcho-communism with ants, because they have an aristocracy. It works with an aristocracy. And then they have Kevin Spacey and the Crickets show up and try to force capitalism in the most harshest way possible.
And Dennis Leary is a ladybug.
Yes, Dennis Leary is a ladybug. And I think it's so funny when you watch that as a kid. It's just like, oh man, Hopper's the bad guy. You know, an old boy.
Oh, he's just against Flick because he's got some cool ideas.
Flick is going outsourcing.
Oh yeah,
helping, trying to get
rallying a team.
Yeah, boot and rally. Fuck you.
It's and Avengers.
Yeah, it's and Avengers, and he's boot and rally. Fuck yeah, done. And as you watch it when you're older, it's like, oh fuck, it's a factory with prison guards. It's technically a slave camp, but he outsourced mercenaries to overthrow the government.
The example you gave me earlier, where he was pulling the peanuts out of that bottle, throwing them at the flies.
Hopper, Kevin Spacey, flicks a nut at one of the crickets, and they're like, Hopper, what are you doing? That's one ant. He's like,
that hurt?
Pop, nah, man, fuck, no, Hopper, it's not. And then he rips the cap off, and a mountain of fucking like pine nuts or whatever come crushing down. And he said, and it's very true. You let one get away with it, they'll all start fucking doing it. Which is kind of the basis of laws. Yeah, like you wouldn't let one guy get away with it; they're all gonna keep doing it. So maybe you start cutting fucking heads off. Like, I'm just saying, this is when we start putting bullets in brains. And Antz is a totally different fucking story. Yeah. Antz is a socioeconomic situation going terribly awry because one dude lost his license. Yeah. And then he's like knee deep in the fucking field in the fucking battle. I don't know if you remember Antz.
No,
there is a horror scene of him with the battle ants.
Oh,
the soldier
yes,
ants.
I remember that.
And it turns into battleship troopers or starship troopers. And he one ant who's a soldier is like killing this giant beetle, and it spews acid and he burns up. And Woody Allen is the voice, and he's just like, "Fuck this shit."
No, see, I do
Sylvester
remember
Stallone's
that.
In that.
Yes, I remember that.
That's a horror movie.
It's fucked up.
It's fucking metal as shit.
But no, I remember watching A Bug's Life, and I don't know, for some reason, that's the movie that captured my attention. Mm-hmm. I dug that one. Even to the point I got the Nintendo 64 video game. I was in it, man. And then immediately after, the next year, because the Toy Story came out in 95, A Bug's Life in 98, in 99, almost exactly a year later, a year later minus a day, Toy Story 2 came out.
Yes. Toy Story 2, though, it grows with you in a way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so...
4 years later, so that's a decent amount of time for a young kid.
When was Toy Story 1?
Toy Story 1 was November 22nd, 95.
Right,
Bug's
I was
Life
6 years old.
Yeah.
I was the relatively same age as Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Andy. Then, a few years later, you outgrow those kind of toys.
Yep.
They go to a younger sibling. So that's what happened.
Yep.
His toys went to his sibling. Now, he still had a few.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, when I was that age, I still had a few.
Of course.
But... they're your mainstays, but now everything's getting separated. He's showing his toys to his younger sibling, who's probably 4, 5 years younger, because you only see her for a minute.
Yeah.
In the first movie, and you hear the mom, who's played by Jackie from Roseanne.
Yeah.
But in Toy Story 2, there was the conflict isn't there from the original.
No.
So it's Woody and Buzz again. And if I remember correctly, they get stuck outside the house right after the move.
I want to say that's correct. It's been a long time. I've seen all these at this point, but it's
in the
been
first
a long
movie
time since
they
I've seen
give a kid PTSD.
Yes.
They just casually fucking do that shit. This is the one where they get sold. This is the one where Woody gets sold by accident.
Yes.
And they go to the toy store.
Yes, that's correct.
And you find out, and it kind of goes back. It's a callback to Buzz Lightyear, from the first movie, realizing he's a toy, to realizing now he's a mass-produced toy.
Yes, because the third one is them actually getting fully gotten rid of.
I will say Disney has a great, kind of like Marvel does with like the Stan Lee character, the old man character from Pixar.
Yes.
Because in the video copy I had of Toy Story, in the beginning before the movie starts, is a cutaway film. It's about 10 minutes long of an old man playing chess.
Oh,
he gets up.
It's not Toy Story. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's at the beginning of Monsters, Inc.
It's at the beginning of Toy Story too.
Is it?
It's that old.
Okay.
But he moves the chess piece, gets up, sits, and then he starts playing. Guess what? That's also the same old man who repaints Woody and fixes his shit. And he's a callback character. Like, I think you see him in the background of Up. I think he pops up here and there. But it was just a cool little, like, they're Stan Lee kind of.
Oh yeah, well Pixar is well known for that. They put Easter eggs like
the A24 or whatever.
But well, not even that. But to the point of like, people have been able to find so many Easter eggs. It's basically confirmed that they've created their own universe.
I do like somebody had argued online or debated online that Andy's dad is an astronaut.
Yeah.
And he's gone. And it's actually, that's what Buzz Lightyear is based off of. His dad. That's
Let's see if Lightyear confirms that theory coming out soon.
Buzz Lightyear's named after Buzz Aldrin.
Right.
And if Russ was here, he'd be cheesing.
No, but I think it's cool that the concept that they're going with the new Lightyear movie is they're not, the reason he looks so different and so weird is they're not rebooting, they're not changing the series. They're going, in this universe, the Toy Story universe, the character Buzz Lightyear is based off a movie.
Yeah.
What would that movie be?
The Buzz Lightyear movie.
Let's show what that movie in universe would be. So that's why Buzz looks a little different and everything. They justified it all. They're like, this isn't the Toy Story Buzz Lightyear. This is the movie and the TV show that everyone likes in that universe.
If he doesn't kill anybody with a laser, I'll be disappointed. Turns his little astronaut body cam off.
But then immediately after Toy Story 2, we get one of my personal favorites, Monsters Incorporated.
I wasn't as big a fan of Monsters Inc.
Really?
It was like my sister was a big fan because it was a little bit closer to her age group. I liked John Goodman was Sully.
Yes,
I'm a big John Goodman fan. One of the greatest TV dads ever. And what is his name? His buddy. The friend at Monsters Inc.
Oh, if you hadn't said that. Mike Wazowski.
Yeah, that's old boy. That's voiced by Billy Crystal.
Yes.
Billy Crystal, one of the greatest comedians of all time. But, those two together kind of make the movie.
With music by Randy Newman.
Yeah. The same dude who did Taylor Story.
Yep.
And his weird little songs.
And basically every movie, I think, up until Incredibles has a Randy Newman song in it.
Yeah. And Randy Newman's got some weird fucking songs.
Yeah.
He's no John Williams. He appears in the last final episode of Family Guy before in the apocalypse episide. See a bird lady, eat a little apple. She's like, Lois is like, let's get the fuck out of here. He's in the only spot on Earth that's perfect. And she's like, oh, it's the oasis of the apocalypse. Randy Newman's here.
No, I had to watch Monster Incorporated because this one came out November 2nd, 2001. By this time, I had already...
Post 9/11. That's great.
By this time, I had already found my love for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And like Universal horror. Like I wasn't watching Night of the Living Dead or anything, but like I had found my love for like monster movies. So to see a universe where it's flipped, where the monsters are afraid of the kids, that immediately grabbed my attention. I was like, oh, and it's from the same people that did the Bugs Life movie.
It's not that they're afraid of it, it's the conspiracy of fear.
Well, you understand that later, but the marketing materials that the monsters are afraid of kids, and it's just like, oh, that's an interesting concept flip.
What was the code they would yell?
2319.
We got a 2319, which is a callback to the studio number for original Pixar artists, A2319.
Yeah, and that was that's if an item from the room gets into Monster World, and usually a sock, and poor guy had trampled by 1,000,001 clone troopers, essentially.
He got shaved.
He gets shaved, and then his Band-Aid ripped off.
Yeah.
That movie, and one a little bit later on down the list, is probably one I could, if I sat down and genuinely thought on it, I could screenplay both of those movies. This one and another one later on coming up. I've watched them so much. I don't know what it was, though. I think just the overall story of Monsters, Inc. just really had me, because it wasn't very linear. There had a lot of important things that are happening that kept you engaged.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Randall being a problem. It wasn't just that a kid was loose. And it wasn't just that Mike Wazowski needed to get to his date. You know, there was so many little things that kind of became bigger issues and smaller issues as the movie went on. All the while, a friend dynamic was happening. Because you had Mike always playing second fiddle. And even playing it up on the joke of like the logo covering him during the commercial. People kind of forgetting about him. Yeah. They had so many plates spinning that they still wrapped it up at the end so well.
I think out of those three, or the first three, Monsters, Inc. is probably the saddest one.
Yeah, I think it's the first time they really tried to hit
Toy
you.
Story, if you remember, doesn't have much of a sad moment as a mental breakdown moment where Buzz Lightyear realizes he's a toy.
Yeah,
and Woody,
that's played up more for laughs.
Yeah, but Woody defeated him for a second, and he has the Mrs. Nesbit idea.
Bug's life was more intense.
But it rises and falls, and they make it to the truck. They get to the new house. Bug's life is a serious economic social problem, where Flick is defeated when he gets pushed out when they find out they're circus performers.
Yeah.
But then Toy Story 2 kind of hits a little bit harder because Woody's pretty much being erased.
Yeah.
As a toy and being treated as like a nerd figure or like a comic book or some shit. But that Monsters, Inc., I remember had one of the saddest ones where Sully had to tell her goodbye.
Yes, and they stretched it. They put the right music. They were trying.
They were turning the knife.
Oh yeah, it's like fuck you. This cute little girl that you've fallen in love with, calling the monster Kitty, is now on the brink of tears, having to say bye to Kitty, putting her through the door, and you're sitting here going like, no.
And you have someone like John Goodman.
With just the perfect dad voice.
Selling it. And I think DreamWorks did that too on other movies we'll bring up later on.
Yeah.
But I do love the theory that the little girl grew up to be the crazy old lady in the hut in Brave.
Oh, yeah.
In Brave. Because she has a wood carving of Sully.
Well, there's a new theory now.
Of course there is.
Have you seen this? Okay, so
she killed Nemo.
One of the
she cast a spell to give him a little fin.
No, their latest movie, Turning Red.
Yeah.
One of the girls
that's Disney, right?
Yes, but it's still a Pixar animation. Okay. One of the main girl's friends is an Asian girl with black hair, kind of a bob cut, with overalls, and on her overalls are the flowers from the door.
Yeah, so she might be
might be Boo.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those things where it's like, no.
I haven't really got a chance to watch Red. It looks pretty neat.
Yeah, that does seem pretty interesting.
Where it deals with anger management.
Yeah, yeah. But no, Monsters, Inc., to me, one of my top 3 animated movies, honestly. Like, it was just really, really good. Next one, I didn't like this one as much until I had to watch it over and over and over, because by this point, I want to say my little sister was born by this point. So Finding Nemo, and she liked Finding Nemo.
My sister did too. That's why my parents bought it. We got it as a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
It was one of those shared Christmas gifts you get. But we sat and watched it. It is a little hyperbolic on some stuff, but it's kind of it's a real movie. Like, it's a really fucked up kind of thing, but it's real as shit.
It was okay. If Monsters, Inc. was there, because I feel like they kind of took a couple things here and then cranked it to 10 for a certain movie. I think Monsters, Inc. was the first time they were like, okay, let's see if we can really make motherfuckers cry.
And what year was that?
That was 2001. And then in 2003 with Finding Nemo, the intro to that movie, where the whole the whole school of fish eggs get wiped out
by barracuda.
Yeah, basically an analogy for someone just came in and ate all your children.
Yeah,
that is intense.
Well, it's full loss because his wife died too. So it's basically their dreams are dashed away except for this one thing.
Yep.
I didn't consider more of they ate all his children, more like his house burned down and his son was the last one left.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I kind of took it literal because I saw like all the little fish. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a big family. And all of a sudden, like,
he becomes, because of the danger, he kind of has this PTSD kind of, attachment to his kid where he becomes kind of like a helicopter parent.
Yes.
And then his worst dreams come real again where he loses his son to a dentist.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a
Don't
dentist.
touch the butt. He touched the butt.
Touch it.
And I think those were the little moments that kind of made it funny. And they did Dory very well in this movie. Mm-hmm. Because I think later on with Finding Dory, we're not going to go through every movie as that. I feel like there's a little bit of like a cutoff on the good movies.
I remember a scene.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect scene in Finding Nemo where the dad and the other one, Dory, they meet a group of sharks who are reformed.
Yes. Fish are friends, not food.
Something happens, and a drop of blood goes in the
water.
I
remember what it was. Dory was fighting over something and smacked her nose. And
the sharks, who smell blood from a mile away.
Yeah.
It goes in his nose.
You see his pupils.
His eyes roll over black. And I'm just like, this is the Jaws moment that the old man was talking about in the ship.
Yep.
Doll's eyes. I'm just like, holy shit! They didn't have to do that. They could have just made him like made his eyes wide.
Yeah.
But no, they blacked them motherfuckers out, and it's just like, you're fucking dead. He's gonna rip you apart. And I think what's the coolest part of it is, it's Australia.
Yeah.
So it's so far away from like the mainstay United States stories and stuff like that. Because Bug's life happens right outside, not far away from Andy's house.
Yeah.
Because we see the pizza. It's where the pizza guy lives.
Yep.
That's where it happens.
Yep.
Again,
it's all a connected universe.
All connected, man. It's like the Matrix. It's like King of the Hill. It's all connected, man.
King of the Hill.
Yeah. Those two little stoner kids are down the road whacking off in his tool shed.
But yeah, no, I think this was a really good one. And honestly, my favorite scenes revolve around the other fish that were captured in the fish tank.
Yes.
Shark bait. Yeah.
It was a starfish. It was a clownfish. It was a couple other ones.
A shrimp.
Yeah, the shrimp.
Or like a prawn.
Yeah, it was a prawn. He's a Frenchman.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of like the A and B plot so far apart, but somehow they find a way to connect it.
Yeah.
Because I remember they meet a bird.
Yep.
They meet a crazy little girl with braces who's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, she's at the dentist office.
Yeah. And he's like, oh no, the killer. And I just love that so much. But around this time, going back to DreamWorks, Shrek came out.
Yes.
And
somebody once tell me.
I will say this, in my opinion, Shrek is the greatest fairy tales ever told.
It is because it lampoons
it's a smack in the face to all of them.
Yes.
I love there's so much we could talk about that movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
But you pulled Mike Myers, who did it only because Chris Farley died.
Yeah, real quick, if we're going to talk on Shrek, the production of that was crazy because it was in the works for so long, and Chris Farley actually did get the role and recorded the entire movie. He recorded the dialogue for the entire movie, but it was going to be a very different plot because he was going to be taking the character of Shrek a little bit more humble and a little bit more skittish.
Yeah.
But juxtaposed next to the way Donkey sounded, it was
Murphy.
very odd. Yeah, Eddie Murphy was still hamming it up. What you mean, Shrek? You know, that kind of thing. But Shrek was more like, I don't know, Donkey. I just... He was playing it very much like that, and it didn't work. So right when he was thinking about going in and doing some redubs is when he unfortunately passed away.
Yeah. Mike Myers' version, though, perfect.
Oh yeah, and even that was a redo because he did a few lines and was like, I don't know. They're like, well, can you do a voice? He goes, maybe do Scottish. And they're like, try it.
Yeah, he does the dad from I Think I Married an Axe Murderer. I showed you that clip, the Pantaveret.
Yes,
the conspiracy. But he does the whole. He's the fine, I'll do it kind of guy, and he can. That's the fuck. He's like Thor almost. Fine, I'll do it my fucking self. But like he's that guy because he's thrown into a bad situation. So one of the greatest villains of all time, next to Kevin Spacey, is John Lithgow, Lord Fuckwad.
Lord Farquaad.
Fuckwad.
I know. I love it.
Duloc. Welcome to Duloc, and his whole kingdom is. We're getting rid of fairy tales because I fucking hate them. He's a genocidal maniac. But it's so funny they were able to pull the talking donkey out of such a fable from so far back and make it a mainstay. Because what do we see? We see three little bears, or the
pigs,
three little pigs. We see the Goldilocks family. We see the three witches from Cinderella.
Yep, the wolf and the grandma clothes.
Yeah, we see all these fables and fairy tales and stuff all being put in a swamp.
Tons of people with pitchforks and torches.
I heard he grinds your bones to make his bread. And they're building this character up in the beginning. And it's just like, we're going to kick his ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're not. This motherfucker's like 8 foot tall, 800 pounds.
Ogre.
And like, when you think of ogre, you think of orc from like Lord of the Rings or some shit. Some of that eats little people. But it's so perfect in the way they do it. I don't want to go into it a little bit more. But one of my favorite jokes that have become the greatest meme to me is run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. And like he spins that fucking light like a cop. He's like, I'm the gingerbread man. And
Not my gumdrop buttons.
And he's just screaming. And he's like,
do you know the Muffin Man?
I swear to God.
The Muffin Man.
I swear to God, they made John Lithgow act that out and then mocapped that shit because he's like, dude, look at the abandon he does. He just throws his fucking legs at a sentient creature. He's like, you fairy tale scum. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that is fucking metal as shit. And I love the meme of "You're a monster," or the Anakin Skywalker, "Run, run, run!" But for DreamWorks to make that with Monsters Inc. on the back end, with PIXAR, what I will say, 2001 was a great time for movies.
Oh yeah,
sans 9/11, and dude, it was awesome.
And guess what else we got that year?
The war in Iraq. No.
Spider-Man. Yeah, so great
Does
year for
whatever
movies.
Sam Raimi tells me.
Yeah. And then in 2004, the greatest Fantastic Four movie will ever be made, The Incredibles.
That one was one of the first few animated movies I had caught, other than like Monsters Inc., which was sad, was this feeling of defeat in watching a movie.
Really?
There's the scene where he's going to snap that woman's fucking neck in front of Syndrome, and he can't do it, and he fails. And like you can just see the way they animated that with that nice 50s style kind of like advertisement information. You know, it's a punch in the gut.
It is.
And like you're like, no, I'm the hero. I'm protecting my family, even though you know his wife is a hero. Yeah, she was Elastigirl. You know,
was before him.
Yeah, and now they're incredible. And you're like, you could tell where he's defeated in the beginning, where he becomes like an office cubicle guy. I do love him. I love how like he's so fucking massive, and he's telling that woman, he's like, "Here's what you need to do," and he takes me in. You need to go to apartment 5. And he's writing it down and he hands it to her.
Fill out this form.
Yeah. And then he's like, I forget what he does, but
he insurance claims.
Yes. And he's telling her how to scam her way back from the insurance.
Yes.
Claim. And that's how he's feeling like a winner.
And his boss, who's like 2 foot tall.
I do love, his kids are just as powerful in other ways as Speedster and Girl.
Yep.
And Jack, who would be a omniscient villain or hero.
We will find out. We don't know yet.
He's more powerful than probably fucking Superman.
I think we did. It's basically baby Superman. He has all the powers.
All of them. He can turn into a monster. He can turn to ice, fire, invisible, shoots laser out of his eyes.
We find that more in the sequel.
Yeah,
but it's
like
like
he can do all this shit.
But we figure it out a little bit in this one. It's like,
turn
oh
to fire.
shit. Yeah, fuck it.
I do love, it does explain the monotony of heroes.
Yes.
Where, all right, so at some point they stopped it to where heroes can do what they do. So him and Elastigirl have children.
The Sokovia Accords.
So they do this whole thing, and Flash, or was it Dash?
Yes.
Dash is the son. He's like, I want to run track. And they're like, look,
dude,
you got to tone it down. You got to run like a regular kid. That's fucking boring. I want to run.
Yeah.
They're like, fine, go do it. And they're doing this whole life thing with her. And dude, this motherfucker is taking off. Gone. He should have. And they're like, no, slow down.
Yeah, that's at the end of the movie.
He's like, no, bring it back.
And they're like coaching them. They're like, no, modest second.
And it's a great. It's the villain is so well made.
Chocolate covered pretzel.
Yeah. It's so well done.
Well, that's what I love about it. It's Jason Lee.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool. It's just I never knew that. Watching it a few times, even after I became a Kevin Smith fan, I saw Incredibles again. Still never connected the dots. And as soon as I read something, they're like, yeah, and Jason Lee was the voice of Syndrome. I'm like, no fucking way. And I listened back to it. I was like, oh, holy shit. And they actually did throw in, they did throw in a Kevin Smith reference in that movie because of that. What was his name as a kid? Buddy. That's very close to Brody.
Yeah.
So that they actually confirmed, they were like, you couldn't. They weren't going to call him Brody, but they said we'll call him Buddy, and that would be close enough. So I thought that was kind of cool.
The whole thing of creating a robot that kills heroes to become the ultimate villain is a little bit flawed, but you kind of see people died. He killed heroes to create this machine. It was
successful.
And it's almost some Lex Luthor type shit. Yeah, that happens in the comics.
Oh, you sly dog. You caught me monologuing.
But that scene where he acknowledges, I'm the fucking hero, and the robot turns on him.
Yeah.
Because it acknowledges only heroes. And now he has to fight it. And it doesn't work out as good.
Yeah.
I do like Sam Jackson as it goes
Frozone,
but it turns into a buddy cop situation.
Yes.
They were fighters together, and it's the old generation transitioning over to the new generation, and you really see that in the second one more than anything.
Right.
But
and again, one of the most perfect scenes ever. Honey, where's my super suit?
Yeah.
Your what? My super suit. Why do you need it? Would you just tell me? I said, why do you? Just tell me what my suit is, woman. I'm talking about the greater good here. The greater good. I am your wife. I'm the greatest good you ever gonna get.
I do love the other version of that. She's like, I think it's under the sink. You don't need it. Yeah, and you need them tampons too, huh? That thing's been dried up for weeks.
But as great as The Incredibles was, that was the last movie for a while from them I saw.
Shrek 2 came out in 2004.
Ah, okay.
Which I will say has a better soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. Great soundtrack. Even with all the covers, it's still a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's all covers. That's what I liked. Because it's just a reimagining for a fairy tale. It's not like Pocahontas or Cinderella where they create the song for the movie.
Yeah.
It's just nah, I want to hear Boys Back in Town while Gingerbread is on fire, killing motherfuckers.
I will say, even they were a lot And even the pop culture reference in that movie were even better. Like, for instance, when they were getting invited to the King's Kingdom to meet Fiona's parents, everyone's like,
Hollywood.
Well, what? Yeah, but when the guys come in to bring the message, they just do a traditional trumpet fanfare thing. That's like a dun 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 dun, and then one guy goes. He's doing
the Hawaii fight.
Yeah.
The fairy godmother being the bad guy.
Yes.
Really turned it. She's like, Cinderella. Was it Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Pretty Woman? Pretty Woman's a fairy tale. It's My Fair Lady. But she's just like, that movie's about a whore. But, there's a reference in there you will catch as an adult. Mm-hmm. But I caught it right away just because I'm an asshole and found it. There's a scene where Donkey turns into a horse.
Yeah.
And he's a white horse. And Shrek's turned into a man.
Yeah.
They're on the horse. He's on the horse running away from Hollywood land or whatever.
Right.
And there's a blimp following, or a hot air balloon following him.
Uh-huh.
And they're
it's like a newscaster thing.
Yeah, hey, look, the fugitive is being chased down by the guards. And they say something. He's on Trail 95. And it's like, did you just reenact the O.J. Simpson chase on the highway? And they did it. He's on a white Bronco. That's what they say.
Oh, shit. Shit.
It's an O.J. reference.
I never caught that before.
Well, watch it again. It's a fucking O.J. reference. I was like, bravo, Pixar, you ballsy motherfuckers.
DreamWorks.
But, dude, that's the thing about DreamWorks. Coke and heroin. But those motherfuckers were ballsy about that shit. He's on a white Bronco heading down 95.
Oh my god! No, I never caught that reference before. Holy shit!
Yeah, and right after that, they made that terrible Shark Tale.
Yeah.
Not to knock off. We saw it a little bit before the podcast, but Shrek, doing all that.
But yeah, I don't know. Right after that with Pixar, you had Cars and Ratatouille, and I didn't watch either of those.
Ratatouille. This is when Pixar kind of dies off a little bit.
Yeah.
Ratatouille is a very fan favorite for kids, and it's a cooking. If you're a fan of cooking,
yeah,
it's what it is.
Well, and that seems like something I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something about it just never.
The villain was
me
the
in.
food critic, so it wasn't my bag. And then Cars wasn't my kind of thing.
No. But I did watch the follow-up between after those two, which was WALL-E. I actually caught that in theaters.
I didn't watch WALL-E until about 3 years ago.
Right.
And I'm just like, God damn, this HAL 9000 motherfucker.
Yeah!
86, everybody.
Dude,
you stole this from Kubrick, didn't you?
Well, see, and that's what I thought was cool. It was like a post-apocalyptic thing, and then, this weird Stanley Kubrick. Well, that explains why you didn't watch it for so long. But no, I just thought it was a really cool thing, and people were bitching like, they're pushing environmentalism on the
WALL-E
kids.
come out?
Oh, June of 2008.
All right, around that time, B-Movie came out.
Ah, yes.
Jerry Seinfeld, which is one of the most annoying fucking films.
Annoying, but man, I enjoyed it when it first came out. I watched it.
But you know what else came out around that time?
What came out around
Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, shit.
China is eating dirt to this day because they couldn't think of a martial art panda from China. Tell me how many people...
Voiced by Jack Black.
Somebody got their fucking hands chopped off because they... Why didn't you think of this? Why didn't you think of this? Why white guy in Florida think of this? Huh? Asshole. I love Kung Fu Panda. That movie was...
I saw that in theaters.
I was a senior in high school when I saw that at a friend's house. I'm just like, fuck yeah, man. That's bad. The way they do it, they got... the different styles of martial arts, and he's basically a sumo wrestler. If you don't know anything about martial arts, sumo wrestling is the first martial art. And I'm just like, it's Jack Black, which is kind of fun because I watched the Tenacious D movie not long before that.
School of Rock
and stuff like that. The Pick of Destiny. But I'm watching it, and the animation fight scenes are perfect. If you watch it. And
they said they wanted to stay very true to fighting.
Yeah. And the dude escape scene. You remember the escape scene of the guy? He was a snow leopard. He was a bad guy.
I don't remember the movie very well.
It's very elaborate how he escapes. A duck feather comes flowing down, and his tail catches it because he's in like a full body thing. and he sticks the feather in the lock and uses his tail to whip it around and unlocks the lock. And he's being guarded in this tower, this impossible fucking escape by rhino men.
Right.
And I'm like, he's going to kill these people. He's going to kill every fucking one. And he does. Like, he kicks ass all the way up. And they overdid it. And that was perfect. And then they do, like, the Kung Fu Hustle thing, which I kind of love. The Buddha Palm. It's one of my favorite movies because the Kung Fu Panda movies are very fun to watch. I'm a big action fan. But the martial arts thing is perfect because they do it in all of them. But yeah, in 2008, I remember that coming out. B-movie was just annoying as shit.
It was annoying. There were some things I liked about it.
There's this one thing on video online. It's like 5 minutes long. It says the movie doubles in pace every time they say the word B.
Yes.
And it takes like 5 minutes.
No, I've seen those comps. They're pretty damn funny. And I don't know. Before we talk about this one, let's talk about. We'll skip a movie and go to 2010 and talk about Toy Story 3 because that's technically the last movie that came out that I really like kind of paid attention to because immediately after Toy Story 3, you had Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, which we can talk a little bit on. And then like Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory, Cars 3, you know, so it's like we're not going to go through every one of these, but like I said, skipping a movie to go back to it. Toy Story 3. Honestly, I wish, even though I've not seen number 4, I wish whatever they did there they hadn't have done, regardless, because 3 ended it perfect.
Oh, they all almost died in an incinerator.
Well, no. Well, that's
the bad
one
guy's a teddy
scene.
bear.
That's one scene. But no, so you were talking about the Toy Story movie specifically kind of growing up with you.
Yeah, if you're born between 1988 and 1990, these movies, you're Andy. You are Andy.
Yes. So what's Andy doing in this movie?
He's giving his toys away.
And he's going off to college.
Yeah.
So it's like you're right in around about that same age group when you're watching the movie. So I feel like it was a perfect wrap up because they were giving the toys away. They, did all this new stuff. They almost kind of did like the Island of Misfit Toys kind of vibe with certain things. And I don't know, just with the way everything wrapped up and then Andy getting loved by, a new generation, or like the unwanted toys getting loved by new generation, this and the other. There's other little small allegories. Perfect ending. They really didn't need to go any further.
It's just money.
It is, but at the same time, it just really felt like that was out of all the Toy Story movies. I remember watching that one front to back and actually enjoying it the most.
Yeah, it's extremely sad.
It is. It's extremely sad, but I think they kind of did the South Park thing where they were like, we're going to respect the viewer enough to kind of give you a real movie with Toy Story characters.
Yeah. Around that time, I knew How to Train Your Dragon came out.
That was another fun one. That was really fun.
It's very fast paced.
Yes.
And the guy that does the voice, he was he was part of the whole James Franco, Seth Rogen group of kids who did like Silicon Valley and Freaks and Geeks and stuff. He was the other character, and his voice comes off really good in this because Brave kind of has that same kind of feeling. Brave was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed that movie just because of the animation of her hair is like perfect, and that's where you meet the crazy what could be Boo. Yeah. And I know after that, just from DreamWorks alone, they just released around that time. It was their 4th Shrek movie. Megamind was a big release.
I remember that. Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda 2 was after that. They did some terrible movies like they were still kicking off the Madagascar series.
Yeah, I never really watched any of those.
They did like Turbo, which was a dog.
No, I thought that was the snail.
That one was the dog. White dog.
No, the white dog was Bolt.
Bolt. Okay.
Turbo was the snail.
But you had the ones like the Croods. You had this fucked up one called Rise of the Guardians. It was the Jack Frost character.
Yeah.
They did How to Train Your Dragon 2, and then they got to a movie in 2015. It took me like 3 months to watch. My niece was born, and she was probably 1, and she's like, "I want to watch this movie." Yeah, she's really
yeah.
It was called Home.
Okay.
I think I've talked to you about this movie before. It took me 3 months to watch because she'd watch it, fall asleep, and I'd click it off. Well, I got tired of watching it like the 15th fucking time. And I'm just like, I'm going to sit here and watch this whole goddamn movie. Dude,
I'm semi-invested now.
Dude, that is a heartbreaker of a movie. God damn, dude. That's a fucked up movie to watch. And I'm just like, why am I showing this? Fuck it, we're going to watch Evil Dead.
Well, to kind of work on that one, the one movie I didn't mention that I said we were going to kind of skip over because I feel like we've got the most to say about this one is they took everything they learned from Incredibles, Finding Nemo, Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., all the heart-wrenching things, and went and got into a board meeting into their movie made by committee and said, you know what? We're going to really fuck with them. Mm-hmm. This one's called Up.
I don't consider that a movie made by committee. I consider that a movie made by two directors who had diametrically opposing ideas of what a movie should be.
Seriously though, man, like if the intro to Finding Nemo didn't wreck a kid, man, even growing up, I was always that weird kid where it's like, if I thought of my future, I thought about it with a partner. Mm-hmm. Even before I was like too young to fully understand what marriage entailed. Mm-hmm. It's like I always still thought about it. It's like I still want a girl to do it with. You know, I want my girlfriend or my wife or, you know, the partner to go do things with. So even at a young age, I always had the idea of, you know, get a girl, get married, have a family. Watching that play out where it's like two kids, you know, a little younger than me, kind of meeting and playing and growing up together, that hit because I'm like, oh, I'd love to find a girl somewhere at my age now and just kind of grow up with her and love her the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden the bitch dies.
Oh no, it's worse than that.
Well, but that's the part that got me.
No, she can't. She had a miscarriage.
Yes, but then after that, but the miscarriage thing didn't hit me as hard because I still didn't want kids. Mm. So I was just like, oh yeah, that's kind of sad. But they immediately lift it back up because they're like, well, screw it, we're gonna keep doing the other things. Seeing her not be able to enjoy the other things, and then slowly her body deteriorating where she can't make it up the hill.
You know who else has this? Plot line?
What?
The bad guy from The Walking Dead. They wrote his story exactly the same as that old man from Up. His wife dies of cancer, then he starts taking a bat to everyone's face.
Well, I don't think they really did that in the rest of this movie. But
you add zombies, the same goddamn movie.
But seriously, but by the time she can't make it up that fucking hill, and then he's sitting there in that same hospital with her on the deathbed. Dude, I forget how old I was. Don't know. Tears streaming down my face. That hit me so hard. Like to the point where like when the guy goes home and just shuts the door and it's like showing his day-to-day life. I was done. I didn't want to watch the rest of the movie. I was like, I don't know. Like I forgot what the trailer was. I forgot the dog, the kid, all these funny things are supposed to happen. That alone fucked me up. Like that was like Avengers Endgame.
His wife
type
dying.
Shit.
It kind of like they telegraphed that very quickly. What got me about the movie, and I knew it was going to be a sad movie, not only because it's Disney and Pixar, was they have their money in a jar, and something breaks.
Yeah.
Gotta crack open that jar. Mm-hmm. When one bruises his knee, gotta change that jar. Mm-hmm. You gotta do all this and all that, and then suddenly it becomes, we just decided not to have kids. She had a miscarriage. It's not her thing. So let's get back to going back to our childhood dream. Mm-hmm. And it was still debilitating because he has to crack that jar open one more time.
Yep. For
the medical bills.
Yep.
And while this is going on, everything around the house is changing, where he becomes the last little house in the city. Now,
and all the while, when they're growing up, the whole idea... Okay, so the reason they were breaking the jar initially was a fund for them to travel around the world and be the big, great explorers that they talked about as little kids when they first met. So that was always their mega dream. Growing up as teenagers and in early adulthood, they were just always saving back that money. But then, like you said, life always got in the way, and they always had to use the money for something. And then exactly what you said, life was even changing around them. And it is kind of interesting because we see a little bit of that here in town. Yeah. Right down the corner from us is a really cool bar, pub. You know, if you're in the Charlotte area, definitely check it out. Thirsty Beaver. Yes, it's the Thirsty Beaver. You walk in, you forget you're in Charlotte. Yeah. You think you're in like a small... Okay, well, someone died. You feel like you're in one of the smaller, I won't say redneck, but, smaller country towns, like Hickory or, somewhere like that. But then as soon as you walk out of the building and look around, it's surrounded by condos. But this is just a tiny little concrete building, painted orange, hole in the wall spot. But it's the last surviving thing on the street, just like Up was. And it kind of hit on a lot of different interesting aspects, because I feel like even during that time in real life, there was a lot of gentrification happening overall. Like there was big movements in a lot of cities to kind of clear out neighborhoods and create more business opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yeah. With some of the newer stuff Pixar did, I was just going through the list here.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 came out a little bit after, actually the week after Incredibles 2. Mm-hmm. So they kind of fucked themselves, in that timeline, because Incredibles 2 and then another movie.
Yeah. And I saw Incredibles 2 in the theater, and it was good. It just didn't feel the same, though.
I like the bad guy, because the bad guy was,
Screenslaver.
Yeah, and it was it kind of reminds me of that new villain they put in the new Spider-Man game, Buzzball or whatever her name is, the social media killer.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, it reminded me of that. And I was like, okay, they reincorporated something, and it works pretty good. And they kind of tell the story of Elastigirl a little bit better. And how they kind of came to be in the situation they are.
Right.
With no heroes and stuff like that. And they gave them a menagerie of fucking heroes, which I liked. And it picks up right where it left off.
Immediately
with
where it
the
left
mole
off.
men.
Yep.
I am the mole man. And it was a cool...
I'm the trash man.
But it's a callback to the Mole Man from like Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Again, best Fantastic Four movie ever made.
And like, I had tried to watch Toy Story 4 with the disabled Spoon character.
Yeah.
Not my bag. I will say, they had made a few other movies a little bit more culturally different afterwards. Soul.
Yeah.
Coco and stuff like that. I recently found out Pixar didn't make that newest one.
Which one?
Encanto.
Oh, yeah.
Pixar didn't make that.
Yeah, that was strictly a Disney thing.
Yeah, and I was just like, really? You didn't pull those guys to come make that movie? Like, god damn.
Yeah.
And then I found out, like, I think they didn't do Moana either.
No, that was strictly Disney also.
Yeah, I'm just like, you have this, you have a group of guys who are
masters
of this shit. And
They've proven themselves time and time again.
And, with them doing, like, I think the last one they did was, like, Luca or or Turning Red. They did Turning Red. But...
you said you also liked, where you said Inside Out was another really sad movie. I finally watched that a few months ago.
Yeah, that's an emotional destruction. Yeah. Like the imaginary friends when they kill it. I was just like, oh, okay, I see where you're going.
Yep.
You fucking psychos.
But yeah, so that's just kind of a little bit of a cursory look at what DreamWorks and primarily Pixar were kind of doing around this time period. And again, very different animation houses creating very different movies at the same time. Because again, at the same time you're getting, your Finding Nemos and your Incredibles, you're also getting your Shreks. So it's like they were creating two very different type movies, but at the same time they kind of worked, especially for the time period.
Yeah, and they both work very well. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future DreamWorks gets part of Disney just to keep it all under the same umbrella.
Yeah, because as much as we've been praising Pixar, there's part of a reason why we haven't watched a lot of the movies recently is it did feel like they kind of fell into sequelitis and like, I don't know, not very compelling movies.
Yeah, I could see them probably like redoing some of the older stuff in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. I'm waiting to see what's next. I finally watched Encanto not long ago.
Yeah.
It does have a very catchy song that burrows into your brain.
Which one?
The Bruno one.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about that on TikTok.
But it's also like, did the grandma accidentally create X-Men? like that's what she did. One dude, the Bruno character, spoiler alert, can tell when people die.
Okay.
Jesus. One speaks to animals like on a casual basis.
Yeah.
Until one animal's probably like, I ate that one, right? Like,
I enjoyed Moana more than I thought I would. That was actually pretty fun.
The Rock was in that.
Yes.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yes.
I do like the theory that she died and that's what you're seeing is like the fantasy world that she lives in. That's why she's having this adventure, is because she's dead.
Oh God, no! But no, that was pretty fun. We do like our animation. A family movie does not always necessarily mean kid friendly. It can just mean a movie that anyone in the family can enjoy, which means the adults as well.
Quick, funniest moment in Pixar.
Funniest moment in Pixar. I can't immediately pull one, but honestly, there's a lot of really funny moments in A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
That or any of the freak out moments in Monsters Incorporated.
Like the 21.
Yeah, like the 2319 or any of those. Some of those moments are really good. Although I feel like I'm missing a one-liner joke that's meant for adults. Mm-hmm. That's also the greatest. Okay. This is to wrap it up, actually. This is the thing I remember laughing at the hardest growing up. Okay, so like you said, VHS tapes. At the end of these movies, sometimes they would have fake bloopers.
Yeah.
Of all things, what animation house decides, screw it, we're also going to make fake bloopers, whether it be, someone messed up their line, or they're like, you know what, these characters...
Woody be like, oh, hold on, I got to do that line again, and just walks away, comes back.
Yeah, exactly. So whether it be even something like that, or like, they decide to make an actor fall over or something, and it's like stupid, or have like a boom mic come in and they're like, hey, wait, guy. Yeah. Favorite one was in A Bug's Life. It was the flies sitting around the bar, and they're like doing different takes of the different stuff, and one of them farts. Oh no, it's the roly-polies.
Yes.
That's what it is. One of them is burp. One is burps. Another one burps. Long burp, and another one goes into for a burp and farts, and you're just like, I rewound and played that bit so many fucking times. I don't know why I thought that was the funniest thing on earth, but that's still my favorite. What about yours?
The first 15 minutes up.
God damn it.
No, the full mental breakdown of Woody looking for Buzz in Sid's house, and the whole, he's waving his arm. I am Mrs. Nesbit. You see the hat? And like you hear the distress in his voice. You see the hat? And like Tim Allen and Tom Hanks, had a ball making that shit.
Oh yeah.
But like Tim Allen just having a mental breakdown. It's like, you see the hat? And he's like pointing with his dead arm, and he's like, look, you piece of shit. That and the Buzz Lightyear stuck in the claw machine, and Woody Allen. Woody they're being sucked into the claw machine.
Yeah.
Because Sid finds Buzz in a fucking claw machine. He's pulling it, and they're like, "Take us with you," one of the aliens. He's like, and he's kicking him. He's like, "Get off us, you fucking zealots!" He's like, "They're all a bunch of cultists." And he's like Kobe's one for his dog, and they're like, "Oh my god!" I will say Disney World changed something because of the Toy Story movies. Do you know what it was? What happens when Andy comes into the room?
They all
fall.
Yeah.
If you at one point at Disney World, somewhere between the span of the second and third movie, if you yelled, "Andy's here," anyone dressed as a fucking Toy Story character would have to drop to the ground.
Holy shit.
They would fucking have to. People figured this out because it used to just be a caller.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy's here. And they'd all fall down in the parade. It was scaring kids because they thought they died.
Oh my
kids
god.
Kids were freaking out because one guy in the crowd would be like, "Andy's here." And they'd be hanging out with a kid and be like, and their eyes are open. And they stop that shit. And I'm just like, that's fucking hilarious.
I would do that. I would just walk past.
Andy's here.
Yeah, Andy's here. Well, for this episode of The Couch Potatoes, I've been Alex and Chris. Do you have any sort of final thoughts about PIXAR, DreamWorks?
I do love my heroine. I do. I will say, I'm hoping they get back to it.
Yeah.
To the level of original storytelling, like Toy Story.
You saw a glimmer with Inside Out, because that was really good.
But, like all Toy Story films, kill your dreams. You know, your toys are sentient, and when you throw them away, they all are melted down. But you make new toys for boys and girls for new sentience.
Because when you become an adult, Woody and Buzz mean completely different kind of ideas for toys.